Today about to be reacting to the worst parkour deaths ever. Man, when I was younger, I thought parkour always looked cool, but when I get as I got older, it looks stupid. It looks dumb. I'm not coming at your hobby or whatever, but bro, I'm not doing that. You know what I'm saying? Any wrong slip, any wrong move, you falling. But let's see though.
2017, Wu Yongning arrived at
See,
the
like, bro, what is
Huayuanhua
he doing?
Center.
Why
On
is
November 8th, 2017, Wu
why
Yongning
is he up there? What a selfie stick. Man, niggas just crazy. You live all these years in life just to risk it all for what? Clicks and views? A little adrenaline rush? I'm cool, bro.
arrived at the Huayuanhua Center in
I'm
Changsha, China.
cool.
The
Trust.
62-story building stood 721 feet tall in the capital of Hunan province. Wu was 26 years old. He was about to attempt his most
Don't men mature at 25? Like, y'all brain fully develop at 25. So why the hell are you doing this at 26? The world may never know.
dangerous stunt
I'm
yet.
gonna make sure my
Wu
camera
had
ain't
worked as a
crooked.
movie stuntman and martial arts practitioner before discovering
Alright, we show
rooftopping.
y'all.
The practice of climbing tall buildings without safety equipment had made him famous on Weibo, China's version of Twitter. He had over 60,000 followers. His videos showed him dangling from skyscrapers by his fingertips, doing pull-ups on the edges of buildings, and performing handstands on narrow beams hundreds of feet in the air.
Niggas is
Wu needed money
crazy.
badly because his mother was sick and needed medical treatment. His
Dang,
girlfriend
bro, you couldn't go get a job, bro. You had to go, you know what I'm saying? Risk your life for your mama to lose you forever. Damn.
Jin Jin was waiting for a proposal. Wu had promised her they would marry soon, but the bills were too much for him. A sponsor had
Just
offered
broke.
to pay him 100,000 yuan, roughly $15,000, for one video, one perfect stunt. All Wu had to do was climb the Huayuanhua Center and perform pull-ups from the roof's edge. He had done this hundreds of times before on other buildings. This time would be no different. Wu gripped the edge of the building and lowered himself over the side. His fingers wrapped around the ledge and began his pull-ups. At one point, Wu tried to pull himself back onto the roof, but he couldn't. That was when he knew something was wrong. His muscles were not responding. Fatigue had set in faster than expected. He hung there, clinging to the edge. 15 seconds passed. His fingers began to slip as he could not get a better grip. Wu's
My
arms
goodness. Risk your life for 15 bands, though? I mean, I guess this on your daily routine. But 15 bands, though? Damn, bro.
from the strain, and he fell to his death. The camera captured him dropping out of frame. He descended 45
Really?
feet before landing on a terrace below. A window washer discovered his body the next morning. Remy
The
Lucidi.
next
On
morning.
Ju-
Not even the same day. The
You're new
next
here.
morning. I'm thinking somebody recording.
Nobody would know it.
That's crazy.
July 27th, 2023, Remy Lucidi checked into a hostel in Tsim Sha Tsui, Hong Kong. The 30-year-old Frenchman had been staying there for 10 days. Lucidi was known as Remy Enigma on Instagram. He had thousands of followers who watched him climb buildings across the world. His feed showed stunning photos from rooftops in Dubai, Bulgaria, France, Thailand, Colombia, Poland, and Portugal. He specialized in unauthorized climbs of skyscrapers, cranes, bridges, and transmission towers. That evening around 6 p.m.,
Jesus Christ.
Lucidi arrived at the Trigunter Tower, a residential skyscraper in Hong Kong's upscale mid-levels area. The building stood 721 feet tall with 68 floors. A security guard stopped him at the gate, but Lucidi told the guard he was visiting a friend on the 40th floor. He gave a specific apartment number. The guard allowed him. The elevator took him up. CCTV footage showed him arriving on the 49th floor. Then he disappeared into a stairwell. He climbed the remaining floors on foot. At 7:30 p.m., a maid inside a 68th floor penthouse apartment heard knocking on the window.
68th floor?
She turned and
60. I thought it was only.
saw a man outside. He was standing on a narrow
Nah,
ledge.
this nigga's
He was
weird.
knocking frantically on the glass. His face showed panic. The maid screamed and called the police immediately. She described a man trapped outside who needed help urgently. Officers were dispatched to Trigunter Tower. Before they arrived, Lucidi lost his footing and fell from the 68th floor. Police found his body at the scene.
Wait,
Pavel Kashin.
dang.
On July
Wait,
6th,
I got a question. I noticed like two slides ago, before the first one, the dude that paid him $15,000 to climb the thing, did he like get in trouble for that? Like, was he charged with his death? I doubt it. I think he probably signed a
2013,
contract.
Pavel Kashin climbed to a rooftop in St. Petersburg, Russia. He was 24 years old and one of Russia's most well-known freerunners. He had spent years perfecting his craft. Parkour was his life. Kashin specialized in urban acrobatics. He could flip, vault, and leap across city obstacles with precision. His videos showed him running across rooftops, jumping between buildings, and performing
Nigga
backflips
think
on
he's
narrow
Spider-Man?
surfaces.
Cuz what do you got
Everything looked
going on?
effortless. He made it look easy. That afternoon, Caution stood on
Dun-dun-dun.
the edge of a 16-story building. A small group of friends and fellow traceurs watched from a safe distance. They had seen him do this move before. It was one of his signature stunts, a standing backflip on the roof's edge. The technique required perfect balance and
Man, niggas
timing.
is
Plant both
crazy,
feet,
bro.
spring backward, rotate in the air, land solidly on the same spot. Any miscalculation meant disaster. Caution positioned himself carefully. His toes were inches from the edge. He could see the drop behind him, 16 stories straight down. He had practiced this move hundreds of times on ground level. He had done it on rooftops before. He knew
Niggas
he
is
could do it again.
crazy.
He bent his knees and sprung backward. His body rotated through the air. The backflip was clean, but when he came down, his footing was off by inches. One foot landed on the edge. The other foot landed on nothing. His balance shifted. He tried to restore balance, but his arms windmilled. For a split second, it looked like he might recover, but he fell backward, nearly 200 feet off the building. Witnesses watched in horror as Kashin dropped 16 stories without any way to
Man,
stop himself. He died on impact.
this is
Yuri
like a true horror story.
Elisiv. On November 8, 2016,
Yuri
Yuri
Elisiv.
Elisiv's life took an unexpected
How old
turn
is
at
he?
his
A chess
apartment in Moscow,
grandmaster?
Russia. He was 20 years old and a chess grandmaster. He had won the
Hey,
World Under-16 Chess Championship in 2012. His entire young life was defined by chess. But Elisev developed a new hobby, parkour. He enjoyed the physical challenge after spending so much time sitting at chessboards. That evening, Elisev stood on his apartment balcony on the 12th floor. His girlfriend was inside the apartment. They had been together for a while.
oh,
She
that's
knew
good.
about his parkour interest. She had seen him practice moves before, but he was not an experienced traceur. He was still learning. Elisev decided to attempt a parkour move on the balcony railing. He stepped up onto the railing and tried to execute the move. Suddenly, he lost his balance. His foot slipped and he fell from
For somebody to be so smart, you are a dumb. R.I.P. him. But for somebody to be a chess grandmaster, you know how smart you gotta be to do that. What went through your mind to make you say, "I'm about to get on the ledge and try parkour"? Come on, bro.
balcony. His
Come on,
girlfriend
bro.
heard the commotion. She rushed outside, but Yuri was gone. She looked over the edge and saw him far below. She called emergency services immediately. By the time paramedics arrived, there was nothing they could
Man, he
do.
was dead on
Yuri
impact,
Elisev
bro.
was pronounced dead at the scene. AF. In March 2019, a 17-year-old
What
Russian
time is it?
teenager arrived in Ankara, Turkey. He was visiting from Russia. His name was reported only as AF in Turkish media. He was interested in parkour and urban exploration. Ankara's skyline offered plenty of buildings to explore, high rises, rooftops, places where a young traceur could test his skills away from home. AF had done parkour in Russia. He felt confident in his abilities. That day, AF climbed to the roof of a 7-story building. Another rooftop sat nearby. The
Oh,
gap between
he think he up in Spider-Man for real. Remember Spider-Man in the first one or the second one? The original, the Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, he jumped from the building, tried to sling his web. Nigga fell right down the hole, hit his back on the garbage
buildings
can.
was not enormous, maybe 8 to 10 feet. For an experienced traceur, this was a routine jump. Run, leap, land, roll. Simple. AF stood on the edge of the first building. He looked across the
Did he
gap. The
overjump
other
it or
rooftop was
underjump
at
it?
roughly the same height, maybe slightly lower. The distance looked manageable. He backed up to get a
Like
running
he
start.
overjumped.
He took
Nah, he
several
ain't
deep
overjumped.
breaths. Then he sprinted toward the edge. He was flying across the gap between buildings, but he did not make
Dun,
it.
dun, dun,
His trajectory fell
dun.
short.
Yeah, that's
Instead of
Spider-Man,
landing on
for
the other
sure.
rooftop, he dropped into the gap between the buildings. He fell 7 stories down into the narrow space. People on the street heard the impact and called emergency services.
Bro,
Paramedics
that's
arrived
scary,
and found
bro. Imagine just minding your business, living your day-to-day life, and then you just see somebody just fall and die out the sky. That is
F
crazy,
in the alley
bro.
between buildings, but he was already dead. Nye
R.I.P.
Frankie
him.
Newman. On December 2nd, 2016, Nye Frankie Newman met his end in
Well,
Paris, France.
that's an
He was a
interesting
British
cut, Nye.
free runner and urban explorer. At 17 years old, he had built a reputation for daring stunts and rooftop photography. His friends knew him as fearless. That night, Newman was with companions exploring
People
Paris.
pleasing. Look
They
at
had been
him.
moving through various urban locations. At some point, the group approached the Paris metro system. The subway trains ran underground and above ground on certain routes. Newman and his friends decided to attempt train surfing. This involved riding on top of moving metro trains. It was illegal and extremely dangerous,
I see where this going, bro.
but it was
we
also
all see where
popular
this
among
going.
some urban explorers who filmed the experience for social media. Newman stuck his head out, while on top of a moving train and made contact with the tunnel entrance. The
Oh, I
impact
didn't
was
see it
instant.
coming that way.
Newman suffered catastrophic head trauma.
I didn't see it coming that way. I thought it was gonna fly off. Nigga, on some movie stuff, like when they fighting the bad guy and they about to go in the tunnel, then boy,
Pronounced dead at the scene.
I bet.
St.
Come on,
Petersburg
man.
woman. In 2012, a 24-year-old woman in St. Petersburg, Russia, decided
Oh,
to
a
try
woman now.
parkour for the first time. She had friends who were experienced traceurs. They practiced regularly on the city's rooftops. She wanted to join them. They met on the rooftop of a building in the city. The exact location was
Monkey see,
not
monkey
publicly
do.
disclosed. The building was approximately 17 stories tall.
Man,
Her friends were
hell
there to
no.
teach her the basics and show her how the moves were done. The session started normally. At some point,
They couldn't.
one of the
Hold
traceurs
on,
performed
bro.
a gap.
They couldn't have done this on like, you know, on ground. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't have did it on ground first.
It was a move they had done many times before. They made it look easy. Then she decided to give it a try. Her friends advised against it.
No.
Beginners should not attempt advanced moves, but she wanted to try. She stepped up to make the jump. She ran forward and leapt, but she did not have the technique. She did not have the experience. She did not have the muscle memory that comes from years of practice. As she attempted the jump, she missed the landing completely. She fell from the 17-story building.
That's not
Her
funny,
friend
bro. R.P. her, bro. R.P.
watched in absolute horror. There was nothing they could do. She dropped over 170 feet to the ground below and died on impact.
R.P. that
Dave-
lady.
Smart brands
Hey
are
y'all,
getting
let me
on
get an
your
ad block
TV
when I get
with ads
monetized.
for
Do
only
not worry about it, man.
$500.
Just say that until
That's
we
because
come
of
up,
the
bro. We
Roku
gonna be
ads.
up eventually.
David
Trust.
Harrison. On July
Trust.
29th, 2018, David Harrison was in downtown West Palm Beach, Florida with friends. He was 24 years old and passionate about parkour. He had practiced for years and considered himself experienced. That night, the group was exploring the city's urban landscape. They found a building that offered interesting opportunities: walls to climb, ledges to balance on, obstacles to vault. It was the kind of location parkour enthusiasts
So
looked for.
they got 4 people with no brain cells. Like they got 4 heads combined with no brain cells, not one of them. You don't see that power line? I guess, bro.
On August 1st, Harrison attempted a move with his friends near the building. During the attempt, he made contact with electrical equipment. High voltage electricity surged through his
Just
body.
got
The
fried.
shock was instant and powerful. He collapsed immediately. Emergency services arrived and transported Harrison to a local hospital.
too late
His
for that,
injuries
bro.
were severe: head trauma, internal damage, broken bones. For weeks, Harrison remained hospitalized. Despite
he
medical
was alive.
intervention, Harrison's condition did not improve. On August 22nd, 2018, at 4:30
Man, this was
a.m.,
kinda
he
recent.
died from his injuries. Johnny Turner. On September 13th, 2019, Johnny Turner, a 28-year-old, was in central London near Waterloo Station.
Pushing
He was a
30.
well-known figure in London's urban exploration community. Turner did not just practice parkour. He
pushing
also
30.
explored abandoned buildings, construction sites, and places most people never saw. He called himself an urban explorer. That day, Turner climbed scaffolding on a building under construction. The scaffolding rose 8 stories high.
For people that wanna that think it look cool, climbing stuff like this and abandoned buildings are both very unsafe, because with this is obviously why it's not safe. Just because of the simple fact they probably ain't got all the stuff in where it's supposed to be at, and then the abandoned buildings, the structure gets old over time and everything get weak, so you can literally just fall through a floor, fall through a staircase because it's so old. Hey, who am I?
For an
Who
experienced
am I,
climber
right?
like Turner, this was routine. He had scaled far more dangerous structures. The scaffolding provided good hand and footholds. Metal bars ran vertically and
like one of them,
horizontally.
one
It was
of
like
the
a
bars
giant
gonna break.
jungle gym.
I think it's
Turner
gonna
moved
break.
upward with confidence. But something went wrong near the top. Maybe a bar was not secured properly, or he misjudged
What'd I
the grip.
just tell y'all?
Whatever the cause, Turner fell. He dropped 8 stories through the scaffolding structure. The metal bars struck him repeatedly on the way down. Each impact caused more damage. He hit the ground at the bottom.
got a
Workers at
Looney
the site
Tune death.
immediately called emergency
R.I.P. him,
services. Paramedics arrived within minutes, but Johnny Turner was pronounced dead at the scene. Tyreek Riley.
dead.
On March 12th, 2015, Tyreek Riley and his friends were on a Brooklyn rooftop. Riley was
Brooklyn.
15 years old. It was evening. The boys were hanging out, talking, and moving around the building's roof. Someone suggested trying to jump to the next building. The gap between rooftops was approximately 10 feet.
Hell no. 15, you know you don't work out, so you ain't got no leg power. Oh my goodness. That's a far jump. 10 feet. Y'all ever did the long
The
jump?
buildings were similar in height. For experienced traceurs, this would be a manageable jump. But Riley and his friends were not trained parkour
Man,
athletes.
hell.
They were teenagers attempting something they had seen in videos. Riley decided to try the jump first. He backed up to get a running start. His friends watched from a safe distance.
It's
He
my cat, yo.
sprinted toward the edge of the building. For a moment, his body was airborne above the gap. Then, gravity took over. Riley came up short. He did not make the distance. Instead of landing on the other rooftop, he dropped into the gap between buildings. He fell multiple stories to the ground below. His
Man,
friends screamed and
that's a
ran to look
crazy
over
way
the
to
edge.
go out, man.
They could see Riley lying motionless far below. They immediately called for help. The paramedics arrived at 4:30 p.m. and found Riley unresponsive. He had suffered catastrophic injuries from the fall. Despite medical efforts, Tyreek Riley later died. If you'd like to see more stories
And
like
we know
this,
he died on the scene, but no. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments below. Which one was the worst one? I mean, they all bad. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no worst one. I just feel like a lot of stuff could be avoided with a little common sense. Some stuff, freak accidents happen. Like freak nature accidents happen. You know, some people may be, what's the word? They may be experienced, but then they might have a bad day. And with this kind of profession, you can't have a bad day. But no, I'm gonna catch you next in the next one. Yes, sir.